directly from this piece of paper right here.
How
Cannot
big do you
memorize.
actually see that?
This is like large print, if any of you can see it. That's, so if you're ever printing things out for people, make sure it's in large print. It's much easier. As my mom said, I'm 25 years old, and for those who can't see me, I'm 5 feet 11 inches with curly blonde hair. As my mom said, I have an inherited retinal condition called X-Linked Juvenile Retinoschisis, and I'm considered legally blind. Biggest thing about that is that I can't drive. Despite this, I have graduated with a bachelor's and master's degree in Aerospace Engineering, and currently pursuing my PhD in the same field. I've completed several internships at prestigious research institutions, received a few awards, and while I could stand here and tell you that I was able to do all this with grit and determination, that would be irresponsible of me. Instead, I want to break down how I got here from a societal and economic perspective. So how did my story start? I was lucky enough to have a family that was able to support my goals and ambitions as I developed. I knew from a fairly young age I wanted to be an aerospace engineer, even if I didn't know exactly what that meant at the time. My dad got me interested in space by watching cool documentaries with me, and my mom enrolled me in space camp twice to further develop that interest. Grandparents drove me to and from Huntsville, Alabama to make sure I can get to space camp. So I had my whole family helping me out whenever they could. So when I turned 16, I couldn't drive like the rest of my friends. My family and friends helped me get where I needed to go, mostly to get to cross-country practice. That was a lot of work doing that in high school. What I'm trying to say is that it takes a village, right? More so for me and others with disabilities than for just, the average child, I would say. And the village can only help so much. If a child with low vision is born into a single-parent household and that parent has to work 2 or 3 jobs to put food on the table, you can certainly bet that child is far less likely to be where I am now through no fault of their own, but because they just weren't given the same opportunities that I had. My first couple of years at UCF as an undergrad really made me understand what the impact on my career was going to be. In my second year, I was going through rounds of interviews for a position at Lockheed Martin, and it was via a UCF college work experience program, and I was asked on my second interview, what does your availability look like? And I had to think to myself and do math here. Well, I have classes on campus 4 days a week. It takes like 45 minutes to get across town to the Lockheed Martin campus. With all of that in mind, and with Ubers costing $30 each way, I could really only work 2 days a week. So not only did it not make sense for me to go work there, I'd be losing money, potentially. They also just wouldn't hire me, being able to only work 2 days a week in a realistic way, right? So already I had missed a career opportunity, and I hadn't even gotten my degree. This theme kind of persisted throughout my internship searches in my undergrad. I more or less had to rule out any companies on the Space Coast because you can't get around Kennedy Space Center without a car. Same with any companies near a military base or any company with isolated facilities to, like test rocket engines in the middle of the desert in Texas. It's not very easy to get around. There's not a whole lot of public transit in Boca Chica, Texas, right? So, and this is probably a good time to talk about employment statistics for the visually impaired. According to the American Federation for the Blind, as of 2017, only 36% of working-age people with vision loss in the US are actively participating in the workforce. This is around half the rate of the population at large. The unemployment rate among those with vision loss is also nearly double that of the general population as well. So yes, the vast majority of visually impaired people are either looking for work or have fully given up looking for work. These statistics make the situation seem bleak. However, something unique happened in 2020. A worldwide tragedy caused a massive exodus to work from home. Finally, people started to realize for office work, you do not need to force people to come to an office. This was an accessibility breakthrough for me and many others like me, and not just the visually impaired community either. My grades improved, my undergraduate research thrived, and companies were starting to offer more and more remote work. And it was a great silver lining to an otherwise tragic event. Since then, though, remote work has sort of been a mixed bag for me. My PhD advisor does let me work remotely, so I get to live with my significant other in Gainesville. And my first internship, though, was in person. I had to move to Columbus, Ohio for the summer, and this was the summer that the Delta variant was spreading. And then everyone in that office was still working remotely, so it was just me and another intern alone in the office working on computers. And this past summer, I had to move all the way to Livermore, California for a job that was, again, done entirely on a computer. I only met with my boss a handful of times throughout that whole internship. So we made the world a much more accessible place, much more accessible than it ever has been. And then we turned around and said, you know, never mind, which is crazy to me. And which is why, if you're in charge of people at wherever you work, I sincerely hope you consider what I've said when determining your remote work policy. Creating an accessible work environment does not just help those with disabilities, it helps everyone. That is only part of the problem, though. I could rant for hours and hours about how terrible most public transit systems are, or how social safety nets for the disabled are actually designed to keep them out of work. Luckily, I have been able to live in areas with good public transit and have not ever had to rely on something like Social Security disability income. However, many people are not that lucky. So what's my point? Yes, I am successful despite my disability. Yes, some of that is because I worked my butt off to get there. However, a lot of it is luck. Luck in where I was born, who I was born to. Luck in my friends and family that I found along the way. Luck that I got into the right university for me, even though it wasn't necessarily the one I wanted at the time. People with vision loss should not have to rely on luck to succeed. By being here, donating, and bidding on silent auction items, you're all helping to fund research for cures and treatments, which we are so grateful for, and will lift many people out of this low vision category, which will hopefully give better social and economic outcomes for them. What about those who are not fortunate enough to receive those treatments or benefit from expensive technological advancements and accessibility? What about people with other disabilities? Hindsight is 20/20, even if my vision is not. We could not have designed society to be accessible to everyone from the get-go. However, we can all make decisions today with your wallets, with your votes, and in your work life that can make the future more accessible to everyone. Thank you guys all for listening to me rant, and thank you for coming out tonight.